हेलो एवरीवन, दिस इज संजय पांडे फ्रॉम स्टडी इंटरनेशनल कंसल्टेंसी सर्विसेज प्राइवेट लिमिटेड. आज मेरे पास मेरा एक स्टूडेंट है दक्ष शिंदे. ही इज़ फ्रॉम ग्वालियर. आई sent him to study Master of Finance from the Royal Holloway University of London. And वो मेरे ख्याल में कितने टाइम पहले वापस आए हो दक्ष से आप?
I came back in around early 2023. You can
2023 or something में वापस आए. उसके बाद से he's been living here and he's working for I think
Citigroup. I was
Citigroup
initially
of
working for,
like some financial institution or something like that,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
Investment Bank.
So basically my motto of calling him here was just to आप लोगों से मिलवाने के लिए था, because the kind of experience that he had as a student there, और उसके बाद job वगैरह search इन्होंने कैसे करी और कैसे इनकी job लगी, and all together just to make you aware of how international education is beneficial or has been beneficial for him. So let me introduce you to Mr. Daksh Shinde. Hello Daksh, how are you today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Mr. Daksh. So I have some questions today for you.
Sure.
मेरा पहला question ये है कि starting तो obviously basic से ही करेंगे. तो how was your experience as a student there in London, or in the particular university called the Royal Holloway University of London?
Experience for me, I mean, in particular, it was pretty great in terms of all the things that I wanted to. You expect quite a few things before going to any place in general as well. Even if you're going to, let's say, a mall for shopping, you expect certain things out of a shopping experience as a whole. For me, I had pretty much more or less all the boxes ticked for me in terms of having a good experience. Because, I mean, just because of the sheer brand that the university came with. So for me, it was a pretty great experience overall.
Okay, so मतलब basically we will start with like थोड़ा सा quick form में हम इसे करेंगे कि कैसे how you started as a student there, how did you feel soon after reaching there, and how were the classes over there. ये थोड़ी basic चीज़ें बताएं, क्योंकि question students जब आते हैं मेरे पास counseling के लिए, तो they have all these questions, right? They know what course they want to study, but then उनके actually internal questions ये होते हैं कि how it's going to be there, like तो वो थोड़ा मुझे बताएं.
Yeah, so I mean, initially when we were in discussion. So I mean, you helped me big time.
3 years back,
yeah. So I took a good 6 to 8 months in just overall shortlisting the subject that I wanted to pursue. I was pretty adamant in pursuing finance, but just to give that certainty that you can do it and this is a good fit for you, you actually catered me as a mentor. So that was initially a big. I mean, I would say it was incredibly resourceful.
So basically you're coming from computers background, right?
Yeah,
you're a computer
I come
engineer.
from a computer science background.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you came to me for the first time and you said that you want to study finance, I had just one question. Since you have studied computers, like interest कैसे आया है? And I remember that कि आपने मुझे explain किया था कि मुझे क्यों इसमें interest है और क्या कुछ particular courses जो extra आप कर रहे थे, so that you will be able to get into.
I have always been in finance somehow. I've always been fascinated by markets and stuff. So, but when you come from a middle class background like I come from, engineering is a gateway to life in general, irrespective of whatever you want to do going down the line. So I got that box, ticked off my list. I pursued my engineering, and luckily I was lucky enough to just land my first job in finance itself. Okay. So I worked with a business consulting firm initially.
So before you went to study there, I think you worked
I
in
had
India as well.
Some degree of work experience under my belt. Yeah.
Okay. So you think this experience really helped you when you were studying in the university, which was
I completely switched to hardcore finance, which I wanted to go there, but initially I had little to no experience about it. So that's where you actually assisted me that you can pull this off, going down the orthodox finance line, that might just be a right fit for you.
So you tell me that there is another question that students generally ask me, that there is a problem of part-time jobs and also. I'm not asking specifically for UK, but then since you have an international experience, although it was of UK, you think that ये जो part-time experience, part-time jobs में problem आती है and all, ये literally उतना है या फिर सिर्फ student को initially work नहीं मिलता है और वो इस तरह से spread करता है कि बस part-time jobs है ही नहीं? That is one of the things that I want to know.
I think a lot depends on the individual itself.
Okay.
Does not matter. I've seen people graduating from Oxford and having no good prospects. So that's a possibility as well in life in general. So I think, if you ask me holistically, I'll tell you that there are ample of opportunities. You just got to be out there and be looking for things.
You think that okay, Mike? Another question is why did you come back, even though you studied from UK and did your masters there? But then why did you decide to come back?
I actually did not want it to come back, to be honest.
Okay.
But I just was, I can say, fortunate enough to have a position in. I was actually initially recruited in London itself.
Okay.
But the role that company offered me, bank rather offered me, I was fortunate enough for having that very same role in my very same division in India itself.
And the earning
more or less on the same pay. I would
Like the
say.
same pay.
More or less, I would say.
That's amazing. So was it because you
Pay
studied?
in terms of purchasing power parity, I would say.
Okay.
Not an absolute number, but
All right.
yes. But
Okay.
now, initially, when I've been on board for more than a year, I am almost there. So,
Okay,
yeah.
you tell me. It's like so. So in that case, when you're saying that you were, what do you call, offered the same salary
Yeah.
which you were offered there in London.
Yeah,
Was it because in India? So was it because you studied in London? That's why even in India you were offered the same salary,
I
or
think
it's just
so.
that India has become capable enough to offer anyone at the same extent to the same extent.
I think your quality of education matters.
Okay.
Your quality as an individual matters.
Uh-huh.
Your quality in terms of your knowledge that you put on the table, what you bring to the table
It does matter.
matters.
Yeah. Indeed.
So I think those boxes I was lucky enough to be ticking those boxes on offer. And I think yes, my university did play a big role. We have a massive high quality alumni network.
I think it's part of University of London. Does it really make difference that you study in such a university?
Initially I did not actually believe in the fact that this alumni network would be any resourceful to me in some degree. But as soon as I started looking out for job and internships, even I landed my first internship under a luxury fashion house named Node MQ.
Okay.
So I was working directly in CFO's house, in CEO's house, John Telemini. If you Google him, you'll find him. He's a pretty renowned figure in fashion industry itself. So that way, I don't think I would have had that opportunity had I not been a University of London, quote unquote, a student. So that's where I think that university and that quality of education does play a pivotal part.
So any experience that you had since you talked about the alumni network, did you really find someone from the network while you were applying for the jobs and all? I mean, this sounds a little rare, but then I think
Coincidentally, I mean, the person who I was reporting to, my India head, basically, my Asia head rather, he was a alumni of my same university from my
It did happen.
from
Oh boy.
and from my same course, and he studied under the same professors. Like Pierre Fortin was a private equity professor, and
So was it really helpful to get the job? So when you said that you were studying from the same university.
I mean, you have to be good enough to get the job in the first place. But once that is ticked off the box, I think other things does help. So let's say if even in general you have someone or potentially know rather, and you have someone who's completely unknown to you, and both are more or less equal. So your chances of hiring someone and potentially would be knowing is somewhat high.
So you tell me how important it is. Do you think it's really important for people to just go and study for a year or so, whatever the masters or bachelor's?
I can talk about myself, and when I say myself, I mean I can talk about working in high finance. So I think it is, but because I don't know, people are actually not that familiar enough, but investment banking is actually one industry. I might get some heat for this, but there is some degree of nepotism in the industry within itself. I mean, not necessarily nepotism, you can say, but for the lack of word, I would still say that, because there's a lot of preference given to candidates who are coming from target universities. I do not actually come from a directly target university, but when a university is under the name of University of London, it's more or less the same thing, you can say.
So you're saying that studying from university where you have studied, that is university, I know what's the name of the university? It's Royal University of London. That's where you studied, and you think that it really helped you, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, if you study from a decent or an average university, this course called the Master of Finance, you think that it won't be that impactful? Again, it comes to the same thing that it has to be.
Actually disregard it. See, I mean, what basically happens is the opportunity that you get at the age of 24 might just be shifted to, let's say, 29 or 28 or 30, for that matter, the same opportunity that I got at 24.
So you're saying that level of university does.
I think
play an important
initially
role.
it does make some degree of difference, but if you're good enough, you're good enough.
Yeah, but obviously when
that's-
you're coming
that's-
out with nothing, it makes no sense.
Yeah,
Ultimately, the
yeah.
name is just an addition, but
But
at the end of
you
the day,
want to
have
be as close to being lucky, if not exactly being lucky. You want to be as close to that in life in general,
Okay.
not just in terms of picking and choosing a university.
Okay.
I would say.
Did you do any part time? There, as a
I
student?
did part time for a couple of months because my course was really fast paced.
Okay.
I had to do networking events. I was doing multiple internships. I was doing multiple research projects. Luckily, my research projects, both of them were shortlisted for BBC Finance later on. So I mean, I was just working 6 days a week.
Continuously working.
Yeah.
And how is your work going here in India? Like after coming back, don't you feel like going back?
I mean, I think that in terms of quality of living, I think it's not as par. Definitely, you get a higher quality living there.
Indeed.
Yeah, but holistically, looking at the purchasing power overall, and I mean, basically, you have your own expectations of life in general. So I think those are more or less fulfilled for me.
So what do you
in
think
India
most of the
as well.
students, like as per your observation, you think that most of the students are, studying and coming back, or very less of them are coming back and most of them are, staying because obviously you've got more, job opportunities. It may be difficult, to get into like for let's say for 6 months or 1 year soon after the completion of the course. But people generally get it, I think, if you are good enough, right?
I think so. I mean, depends on the kind of university you go to, and more. I mean, more importantly, more than the university, depends on more geographical area that you're targeting in terms of your jobs. So if you're targeting, let's say, a geographical area which is not maybe good for finance, let's say, for example. And when I say good for finance, maybe there aren't enough, let's say, investment banks, for example, and you're targeting a role in investment banking itself. So that might not be a very smart move. So basically, you should know what you're doing.
Yeah,
And
obviously, if you don't see the right target, you won't be hit it right. Right,
So,
correct.
and I think that boils down to you as an individual after a while, because initially you can help people, with the university and shortlisting and even the courses and stuff, everything from head to toe in terms of visa and landing a role, let's say, a position at a respective university, you can say.
All right.
But thereafter, I think it's on you. What do you do with it?
Okay. Was it really difficult to finish to complete the
For me, I
master's?
mean, my masters, I think you would know it better. My masters were a bit tricky one. Yes,
Why
definitely.
was it tricky? I don't know. But when you
Because-
say tricky, why was it tricky?
My masters was I did not actually knew initially when I went to my university respectively that it's a top 10 university when it came to finance and economics prior to 2020.
Yeah,
I
it's a
think.
very good university indeed for master's
I was not
degrees.
actually familiar with it. So I mean, my course was very quantitative heavy. There was a lot of mathematics. There was a lot of what we call computational finance. So my course was pretty challenging, I would say.
So we'll wrap it in this. I don't think we're going to wrap it, but then few more questions, like
Sure.
the ultimate questions. So what do you say altogether about this overall experience? You went there, completed, and came back. What is it like? How was it?
I
altogether
actually
as
did not
an
just
experience?
go there and come back. I worked, as I told you, I worked with Mode MQ as well for a while, and we were a startup initially. I mean, we still are a startup. I was put on board directly. I don't think any 23-year-old would have been on board of any startup directly. Maybe that's part of my luck. But again, I mean, you want to be as close to being lucky as I told you. So that my university did the trick for me. And overall, I can say, I had a great experience in terms of learning. It just the global perspective that the global horizon that opens up for you, because
What-
you learn to think in a global. Okay, let's say if you're dealing with Russian, like I was dealing with a Russian client, so I initially, subconsciously I had a sense that okay, this is how Russian would approach this certain problem.
Because of
So-
that multicultural
Yeah,
diversity
definitely,
that you've
def-
experienced as a student
Yes,
there,
definitely,
right?
definitely.
So yeah, I mean, when I send the students, I always get these questions, which I'm, trying to get the answers of from you. And since I've been doing it for like 10 years, I've sent many students. You're one of those, and it feels great to have the students, who have studied and are getting good life, because most of the people, or there are many people who are a little scared of, deciding to study abroad, even though they, have it in their mind for quite a long, but then they're scared. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying trying to, bring people like you who are doing good, so that others will get the confidence on this decision of studying abroad at least once, because studying in the multicultural diversity is a life-changing experience. Because even I have studied for like 4 years. I was there in UK for like 4 years. You know that, right?
Of course.
When you came to me, you asked me the same question. I said that I was there for like 2 years, 3 years, something like that. Did my master's in international business. So I found it amazing, which actually changed my life. So my question to you, the last question to you is, what changes did you see in you after the completion of your course, or after the overall experience of studying there, or as an international student? It's not just the UK or any other country. It's just that international means international. For me, studying internationally is an international experience. It could be any country. So how was your experience? Experience as in, what change did it bring to you or in your personality?
I think it gave me a lot of confidence in terms of how I approach things. Basically, I would say my problem solving, because you are solving problem day to day on a daily basis in life. It does not have to be a professional problem. You're solving problems on a day to day basis. At least as a man, that's an obligation in life.
Yeah.
So the quickly you understand it and quickly you learn to do it, it's better. And I think it also gave me a certain degree of humility, that you have good quality education and you should make most of it.
Yes.
You should be respectful to your craft and rather your profession.
You need to handle everything, getting up early, and then
everything.
Working part-time, and then handling the classes.
Yes.
And then obviously you have to socialize as well, because you are there not just for the classrooms, you're there for an
Socializing
overall
pays you
right?
big time.
Yeah, you're networking, meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, any incident wherein you found any, when you were in UK and all, anyone and any celebrity?
I actually used to go to every single venture capital and private equity networking event.
Okay.
It didn't used to matter to me if it was a student premium or student only, what can I say, event. I used to go to every single event in Central London, even the sushi center. Every other sushi centers in London would know me by face, because they
you went to all the events, right?
Seen me so
what
much.
was the biggest event that you've attended?
I think it was in Mayfair. Yeah.
So, okay, the question is, what was the last question?
Sure.
So, what was the biggest or the best possible event that you have attended, which you really found amazing, or maybe you were like kind of surprised that this is wow, studying abroad gives you this as well. Wow, this is the kind of feeling. Did you get any feeling of that?
I actually attended 2 big events, you can say. One was with a private equity firm named Blackstone.
Okay.
It was there, and it was a good, great event, but I was somehow late in reaching there, because Surrey is somewhat at a distance from central London.
Okay.
And another big changing, I would say it was one of the most life-changing event for me, was in Monsanto. That was in Mayfair.
Okay.
That was a venture capital event, and that's when I actually landed my first internship. That's where I made the most influential contacts, you can say. It's safe to say that, because I now have good bit of network in House of Commons in UK itself. I have good bit of network in venture capital space in UK, which is somewhat secretive, because it's a bit under the radar, the kind of business itself. Mm-hmm. So that, and also I got exposure to a lot of traditional investment firms through that event. And I am now in touch with quite a few, you can say, well-respected name in the industry as well.
How did you reach this? So let's say, just a what do you call, a suggestion to the people. How do you approach when you?
I think you just have
the companies. How do you approach the companies?
I didn't attend as many job fairs as I should have attended, but I did attend quite a few, because there are a lot of job fairs. I don't know people are aware of it or not, because there are consistent job fairs on a weekly basis. And particularly for someone who's particularly in computer science, let's say, there are a lot of events as compared to finance, because finance is a bit
I mean, it's something
closed.
wherein you have to have really good knowledge. Then you put something like really good for you.
Teams are pretty lean in finance as compared to, let's say, a software company. So that's where I think networking comes into play. And for me, as I told you, Monsanto in Mayfair was one of pivotal event that I attended. That gave me a lot of great bit of exposure.
And then you're earning good now. You're having good job. You're satisfied with what you're doing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
or maybe you're looking for even
there's
better
always
things,
room
right?
for improvement.
Yeah.
You can't get complacent.
It's always like that.
Yes. But yeah, good
I-
start.
All right, all right. Mr. Chande, it was really nice talking to you or having you
Likewise.
here.
Likewise.
And I think I'll try my best to bring most of my students or people who have been doing great in their lives. And since I've sent lot many students who are literally doing great, I would definitely try calling them here. So till then, thank you so much for watching us, and bye.